Hello everyone and welcome back to the final episode of the Boaterbug Fish Care series, where we have talked for a week about setting up, maintaining, and keeping fish and the entire aquarium in your home, or making them in a way that will keep them happy as well as improving your life. Sorry, he was making mouthy faces. I'm trying to delay a little bit because today is a topic that nobody likes talking about, and that is sickness and mortality in your fish. Fish are living creatures, and hopefully you won't have to deal with it for a while. If you didn't cycle your tank properly, you'll find out pretty quick dealing with this kind of thing, but fish will get sick. So Jen, you've had a better memory of what happened on when we were younger with our fish, and I think you've had some more run-ins with that since. So fish get sick. What are some of the more common illnesses that you might see with fish?
The most widely known, even if it's not the most common, is called white spot or ick, and it looks like little salt spots, little salt shakers on the skin and body of your fish. You don't usually see it on bottom fish, interestingly enough. It doesn't develop the same way. Maybe they're resilient, maybe it just doesn't present in the same situation as other fish. But you'll see it, and yeah, the little white spots on them. I've also had with the goldfish, they got too big for their tank, and before I could move to another one, they ended up getting sick more and more because I just couldn't keep up with cleaning them. So they got a body fungus at one point.
Goldfish being dirty and not having the capacity, just the gallons needed to maintain the bioload of even one kind of dirty fish.
Right. They'll get sicker. They're more hardy, so they're able to deal with the sickness, but they'll still get more sick more easily because of the extra dirtiness in a smaller tank. But basically, like, all fish have a natural, what's called a slime coat on them that kind of helps keep them healthy, keeps all of their external functions regulated.
Yep.
And a body fungus will kind of start to slough.
I'm not sure. I think slough is how the word is pronounced, but I'm not positive. S-L-O-U-G-H.
I would say slaw. I don't know.
Slough or slough?
Slough. It'll come off.
Yeah.
In like pieces, in parts. It gets white and fuzzy and kind of very hazy looking, like the whole body looks hazy.
Yeah.
But it tends to respond pretty well to medication if you catch it early.
Yeah, so those are two common ones. And those are very easily seen visually. Mm-hmm. Not all fish illnesses are as easy to see. There are some pretty common symptoms that you can look for, though. Right. Basically, get to know what your fish look like. So if they start to look different, it's a warning sign. We're if scales are very radically different, if eyes are kind of cloudy.
Right. A lot of illnesses are more symptoms of other problems, or there may not even be a name for whatever symptom you're witnessing. So maybe the eyes are cloudy, or they look larger or smaller. Maybe the body is hazy. Maybe their fins are clamped. Fins clamped is a really easy one to spot.
Yeah, that's a really easy one to see. Usually you'll see the fins coming out to the side as you're swimming around. If they're tight against their body, imagine how uncomfortable you'd be like this. If they're doing this voluntarily, something's wrong.
And it's really easy to tell, like on my goldfish, because they have the one fin that comes off right at the top. Well, if they're not feeling so well, it's clamped tight against their body, and they get, a very slim look to them. Their tail fins will also be clamped very much into an arrow shape.
If they're swimming weird, if they're curved weird, and I am going to add an asterisk because I have a couple of zebrafish in here with spinal issues, and I was so worried. I thought they were sick, and I talked with Jen a lot about trying to get them diagnosed, whatever. That was months ago.
Yeah.
And they're fine.
It's
but that's
probably
an anomaly.
just a breeder issue.
Yeah.
That happens a lot with...
Especially with cheap fish.
Yeah, with cheap fish, and like feeder goldfish are another one this happens to, is they'll just have deformities from being previously
because
inbred.
they are ridiculously rapidly inbred. But anyway, so don't just say, oh, it's a Danio, it might have a spine problem. Mm-hmm. Always check first to assume that it's sick, and look for those symptoms, clamp fins and everything like that. So if you have a sick fish, what should you do with it?
The first thing is to figure out, do I have a sick fish or do I have a number of sick fish? if you have a number of sick fish, your treatment is going to end up being for the whole tank. If you only have 1 or 2 sick fish, you pull them out and you put them in a quarantine tank.
Properly cycled, because otherwise the nitrogen unbalance will kill them anyway.
Right. So what I usually do is if I have a sick fish, I'm going to do between a 25% and 50% water change in my main tank anyway, because they've been living in there. Whatever's in there, you're going to start pulling out all of the bad crap. And then with the new water that's 50% new water, 50% old water, I pull out however much of that into the hospital tank, so that it's still cycled, but it's got some of the, it's not like a fully concentrated, this is sickness water tank.
Yeah, and you can also, what are your thoughts about dropping in, say, some substrate, some gravel, because that helps with the cycling, but if there's any disease on the substrate, you're putting that in your hospital.
I wouldn't bother putting anything in a hospital tank. I would have, if you want to have like a decoration, I would have one that's dedicated to the hospital tank. I would have like a fake plant or something that can be sterilized, stuck in a pot of boiling water kind of thing after the fact. If you're worried about them feeling comfortable, and I would do that. But I really, and honestly, like even just like a piece of PVC pipe will do it for most fish. They have something to swim in, they'll be fine.
Yeah. So you remove your sick fish into the hospital tank and you treat them there. Or again, if you have a whole community of sick fish, you're treating in that tank. You are doing bigger water changes, especially if it's in your main tank. You're doing daily, at least 10% water changes, if not 25.
Yeah, I want to say depending on like the severity and what it is. I mean, I would just do 25% daily anyway.
Yeah.
A few other things to keep in mind is with most of your hang-on back filters, they have activated carbon in them. Take out the activated carbon. Don't, because what the carbon will do is it will remove any impurities in the water, and impurities also include your medicine that you're dumping in the water.
Yeah, and I did have a sick fish at one point that I diagnosed as, bacterial disease, and I got something that can help with that. Usually diseases will be bacterial or will be fungal, and there's different types of medicine to help with that. So diagnose and then get the right thing. You wouldn't treat a bacterial infection with an antiviral, and you can't treat a virus with penicillin, so it's the same thing here.
Pull out your filter, just plain replace your filter media, because the other thing is like, one of the problems I have with my goldfish tank is that my filter media was not getting changed enough, so it was just sitting there and it was getting kind of gunky. So I just made sure to A, change it more often, and B, while I was treating them, just change it every day.
We didn't mention that in the cleaning episode, but you should be changing your media once a month on average.
Yeah.
If they're sick, immediately replace, and then maybe replace every 2 months. It can get expensive, but it's also expensive to replace every fish in your tank.
I will say that a lot of newer filters come with these pre-made little baggies where the activated filter is built into it, so you're like, well, I don't have a choice but to put the activated filter into it. If you go to like any craft store, you can find like cotton batting in rolls. Just like cut a piece out and stick it in there instead in the time being.
That's fine.
It'll be fine. A sponge, something.
Yeah, and if you want more details on that, by all means, go to Google, go to forums that are more dedicated to that kind of thing. We're kind of just giving you the overview right here.
One last thought about treating your fish is it depends a little bit on the kind of fish you have. Your scaleless fish, for example, your loaches, are going to react very differently to medication than your regular swimming fish will. And one of the things that you can do when your fish gets sick is not only can you change the water, but you add a bit of salt to the tank. You add aquarium salt to it, which will kind of help replenish their slime coat. But you can't put salt in a tank that's got loaches. It will bother them more than it will help them.
What about sometimes fish, and I'm going to do a note really quick here. The stuff we're talking about we'll put before we talk about the death. This will go mixing up the order. So what about, like, sometimes there's digestive issues, and that was one of the things that I thought that my ones that have spine issues, because the bellies are kind of big, I thought that they had digestion issues. You talked me through a couple ideas for that.
Right, so swim bladder disease is pretty prevalent in certain fish.
Basically, the swim bladder is what all fish have that basically helps them regulate their elevation within the tank.
It's filled with air, or some fish will actually, like, they'll swallow stuff to kind of help keep it regulated or whatever, but any kind of swim bladder problem, a lot of it is actually related to digestion, especially in like goldfish. You'll see this where it's like they get plugged up, they need poop and then they can't. So you feed
Your
them
fish
something.
are getting constipated.
Yeah, so you feed them something to kind of like help empty
Get
out
that
the
fiber.
system so that all of this trapped air in the digestive system and the trapped air in the swim bladder will just kind of like come out.
Have you ever seen a fish fart? Get little air bubbles coming out.
No.
Okay. I mean, you're saying trapped air.
I...
Just making sure.
No, but you can feed them, you cook and you shell peas and then you feed it to them and that will kind of help clear them out. It's like a natural, I don't know, like a diuretic or whatever it is for them.
Yeah. So.
You also can and should raise the temperature as high as the fish will tolerate it. A lot of diseases will not be able to survive at, let's say, 80-degree temperatures of water. They prefer like the 72 degrees. So I know like with ick, that's a big one, is immediately raise the temperature of the water 80, 82 degrees, and that will really help clear out any kind of bacterial problem.
That's good to know. So let's say that you've done everything you could. You had one sick fish, you removed it to a hospital tank, you medicated it, whatever. You couldn't save it, you check in the morning, and it's upside down floating at the top. You have a dead fish. Ooh.
Rip.
Yeah, rest in peace, little buddy. You are not going down the toilet.
Yeah, I mean, people flush fish. I've flushed fish before. My dad will still flush fish. It's technically not going to hurt anything.
Yeah, technically you
not a good
shouldn't,
idea.
but, there's the whole, ecosystem thing.
Yeah.
But, ideally, you put it in a bag and toss it in the garbage,
Well, I wouldn't even do that, because then you just have this rotting fish body.
Yeah, because it moves it from the water system to a landfill somewhere.
Well, it's not so much that it's a bunch of cases that it's like, just you don't want it just sitting in your garbage. Like, it's a dead animal, it rots, it's fine. It's not going to hurt anything. But I know we had, my dad's 125-gallon tank sprung a leak at one point. It drained out entirely, and we lost a lot of fish, including a really big angelfish. That can't fit down the toilet. So he had to go and chuck it under the cedar trees out back.
Yep. Buried in your backyard.
Previously, we had another very large angelfish. I want to say he lived like 5 or 6 years. Very happy, big angelfish life. He died. Dad went out to like the sewer and just like dumped him in like the sewer grate. I remember it was the middle of winter and everything was frozen. So just like plop. Well, there's a fishicle sitting on top of the sewer thing. We can see him sitting in the snowbank, in the ground. Well, that's awesome.
Depending on your point, this is either really amusing or really morbid. And I mean, yes, I paid $1 each for the zebrafish, but it still sucks when one dies and you're like, oh, this, do you take it with black humor or do you just say,
Well, it's really sad at the time when it happens, but then there's some things where it's like you can kind of laugh about it later, like with the angelfish going in the sewer and stuff like that.
Yeah. Actually, there's a question in between that. Let's say, would you euthanize a fish if it's like this clearly has 2 fins in the grave?
Yeah. It's considered humane to do it. There's a bunch of ways to do it. I think it was tea tree oil maybe. I think if you get tea tree oil and you put it in like a container and like you put the fish in the container, it's considered a peaceful way to euthanize it. Some people will claim that you can literally stick a fish in like a thing of water and put it in the freezer and it will be like, oh, it won't feel it. But I'm like, I bet it'll feel it.
Yeah.
And then I don't really want a dead frozen fish in my freezer. Of all the things
Yeah, because that's weird too. I mean, like, you've done that, you haven't gotten around to throwing it wherever yet. Honey, could you get some ice cubes? No, the other tray.
Yeah, not that one. Yeah, like if you know that it's not gonna make it, then yeah, it's best to euthanize it. But yeah, I always try to like hold out hope.
Yeah, I've had one fish die on me since that was louder than I expected. Instead of sleeping upstairs, I've had one fish die on me since April. April? It is April. August. It's not even April yet. Oh my god. I've had one fish die on me since. No, I've had multiple. Sorry, I had a zebra and I had the Pandacorius.
Were like they all die within a couple of days though, so I feel like they were sick.
I think they were sick, and I was lucky because they didn't infect the rest of the tank. They might have gotten the one zebra sick. I'm not sure.
Right. I mean that's another thing is when you get new fish, technically you should quarantine them. You should put them in that separate tank just to make sure that they're not bringing any new diseases. Me, I like to live on the wild side. I like to live with danger. I'll just put the new fish in there.
I think, first off, are we done talking about illness and mortality? Because I think we've covered everything there.
Yeah.
Your fish will get sick. You try to do what you can,
Yeah.
and then eventually, and it might even be from old age that your fish will die. But you'll still see some of the weird swimming habits and such. So I did want to ask you. I have a tank that I use as a as a hospital tank. I'm going to be getting a couple of Dalmatian Mollies this week, and I would like to use it as a quarantine tank. What's the proper sterilization procedure? It's been a few months since I used it as a hospital.
Is it drained out and emptied?
Yes.
Okay, if it's been drained out and emptied and totally dry, I would say that you're probably fine. I
Okay.
mean, if you're really, really worried about it, you can take some kind of I don't want to say bleach, but something to clean it with, just, give it a quick rinse on the inside, but I still think that you'll be fine, as long as it's been drained and dry for months.
Okay. Yeah, so I will be getting that little guy set up. As we talk about the end of that cycle of life, I will be getting a few more guys to go in and add to the aquarium. Alright, so that has been our discussion in this video about death and mortality, illness, everything like that. And that is the
in
conclusion.
Sickness and in health.
Yes. Oh, look at those two.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have babies before this video airs, I guarantee it. So yeah, thank you for watching this week. It's been a lot of fun, kind of revisiting some of how when I was putting this together. And hopefully this has helped you get interested in getting fish and doing so responsibly. Because again, you could get a 49-cent goldfish and drop it in a bowl. But if you want that 49-cent goldfish to grow into Ben,
Yeah, to grow into this, 12-inch goldfish that'll last you 20 years.
yeah, then you do it responsibly. Same with any other fish. So, I hope that you enjoyed the series. I hope it was informative. If you enjoyed it, please, please, please subscribe down below. I generally don't do a whole lot of stuff talking about pets. My channel is much more geared towards Let's Plays and occasional short films and stuff, but I definitely hope that you will check it out. If you're not interested in the rest of what I do, then please at least share these videos. Give them thumbs up if you like, and leave comments on any of them that you enjoy, anything that you want to add. Tell us what we got totally wrong, and maybe we'll ignore you. Maybe we'll say, oh, that's a good point.
Yeah. It's not, keeping fish is not an exact science by any means.
If you're interested, then I encourage you to join a community online. There's a lot of good forums where, whenever I Google a problem, I find like 5 different forums that people are talking about it, and there's a lot of knowledgeable aquarists out there. So yeah, I hope that this got you interested. Please check out the other videos in this series. Give thumbs up to the ones you enjoy. If you do like everything else that you see on the channel, give it a subscribe. You can also follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.com/BoaterBug. And you can support me on Patreon.com/BoaterBug to help me make these videos. Thank you very much for watching all week. And Jen, thank you very much for joining me this week. That's it. Thank you very much for watching. And if you decide to keep watching videos of mine, I will see you then.